If you're going to make a magocracy, obviously you have to add magic and then put the wizards sniping at each other over petty politics. But how do you make the magocracy memorable? By making the magic memorable. Anybody can just devote a bunch of different wizards to different existing schools and call it a day. That's how you get Nethril or Thay. They're okay, but there's a reason why when most people mention Mystara, the first nation that comes to mind is Glantri. Why? Why? Because Glantrian magic borders on mad science, and it dominates the nation's entire culture and industry, from secret magical sources to uncovering entirely new schools of magic, followed up by turning their great university into an arcane sweatshop, cranking out magic items with the express purpose of selling them. Glantri pushes the boundary on what magocracies even are. I'm Mr. Welch, and this week we are looking at the magics of Glantri. First off, I'm not breaking down the secret crafts or even the radiance in this video. This is just on the impact of Glantri's research into new magics and how that magic is integrally tied to their culture and economy. Where Alphatia represents the old traditional methods of magical research and spellcasting, Glantri has no restrictions on any type of magic except divine. This gives Glantrians the reputation of being incredibly reckless with their profession, something they can't deny based on past events. From dissecting demi-humans to testing new spells on their neighbors, Glantri's public relations department is one of the toughest jobs in the known world. The first thing you learn about Glantrian wizards is they have a love of the grandiose. Why cast Fireball when you can unleash Deathfire's Rapture? A simple light spell changes into Banish the Dark. Clone becomes Mirror Birth. For whatever reason, Glantrians can't give a spell a mundane name. Their spells tend to be a mouthful due to their love of making everything sound like it needs to be shouted by an overacting British villain. If you're going to introduce a new spell in Glantri, if it doesn't sound like a prog rock album name, you're doing it wrong. The primary reason why Glantri churns out new magics in the first place is pure capitalism. Glantri has almost a monopoly on magic items. They have a large number of stores that do nothing but sell items, not just to other wizards, but other adventurers that come in looking to spend their adventuring profits on new and exciting magic. There is an entire industry of wizards that do nothing but scribe scrolls or brew potions to keep up with the demands of their customers. To ensure repeat business, Glantrian magic items are designed to wear out. Wands can't be recharged. Charges and other items are limited and never replenish. If you wear out your wand of fireballs, it doesn't generate extra charges in the morning. It turns to dust and you have to trek back to Glantri City to get a new one. I'm pretty sure Steve Jobs had a copy of Gazetteer 3 lying around the Apple headquarters somewhere. The prevalence of magic also means common magic items are the household items in the home of Glantrians. House slippers that warm on command might be useless on a dungeon crawl, but for 50 gold pieces you can make sure your toes are never cold in the winter while you research your next spell. Magic replaces the mundane all over the nation when possible. Instead of throwing your trash out, you feed it to a charmed black pudding. An abundant supply of magical prosthesis means there's no need for peg legs or wheelchairs. Now the price might be high, but wizards are always willing to offer discounts for those willing to help with experiments. By being the experiment. Most stores will offer some sort of magical item for sale, unlike nations or settings where buying a magical sword is almost unheard of. Glantri isn't magic heavy, it's magic saturated. Once you get past the fact that normal magical spells are everywhere inside of Glantri, then you start to look at the experimental forms of magic, the ones that aren't taught openly in schools, but are hoarded away for use by the nation's power players. Glantri wizards are a vain people. When everybody knows the spell, the wizards showcase their wealth by having numerous trivial items lying around for their comfort. Any merchant can go out and buy a wand of dishwashing, and creating new cantrips is an introductory course at the Great School of Magic. The true power players in Glantri aren't the ones creating new spells, but the ones creating new forms of magic. This is where the secret crafts of Glantri come in. The crafts are a new form of magic, or an expanded form of magical schools that aren't fully understood yet. Many of these crafts don't even resemble traditional spells, but are more like magical abilities above and beyond what normal wizards can do. This gives Glantrian wizards an enormous advantage compared to other high-level wizards. Empress Ariadna in Alphatia might be one of the most powerful wizards in an empire of high-level wizards, but even she just can't summon dragons or elementals with a thought. This access to unheard-of power is what gives Glantrians an edge over other wizards. Having said that, remember these forms of magics aren't perfected at all. They can be incredibly dangerous to use because they aren't fully understood. Because of this, the abilities aren't automatic. They test the wizard's skills and abilities. A wizard that knows of the crafts doesn't automatically know how they work, hence the need for skill checks when the wizard tries to activate the abilities. Each craft also takes a toll on the wizard's body. Even the best wizards don't know how to get around the strain the crafts put on them, resulting in permanent reductions in the wizard's abilities. The more you learn about the crafts, the greater the strain becomes. That's not including the dangers of miscasting a craft ability, which can lead to anything from insomnia to painting an entire city block with your blood. However, Glantrians are probably the least risk-averse wizards in all of D&D history. They will conduct magical experiments that would have Zaz, Tam, and Faye on the hotline to OSHA lickety-split. The crafts are almost a secret club for the most ambitious wizards. It's not that wizards are looking for a shortcut to magical power. The crafts are known to be incredibly dangerous and difficult. But the wizards that have reached high levels of the craft also reach the highest level of Glantrian politics. The crafts serve as a path to political power just as much as they are a conduit of arcane lore. Despite the moniker's secret, the crafts are well known by high-powered wizards. When Alphatia discovered the existence of the crafts, Glantri didn't even try to hide them. Prince d'Amberville even sent the Empress a letter telling her that to get over the fact that Glantri uses far more advanced magical techniques, and accepted the increased risks, so she should mind her own business. Where the secret crafts are widely practiced by a large number of nobility, the Radiance is only accessed by the true power players. It's a quick way to shoot up the social status among Glantri's finest, despite the absolute secrecy of the magical source. The Radiance, unlike the crafts, requires a high level in the arcane arts just to cast the spells. The material requirements to handle radiant energy would bankrupt all but the wealthiest adventurers. Because of this, most of the Radiance users are princes of Glantri or other high-ranking nobility. The Radiance mages, due to their secrecy, don't even know the identity of each other, but since they're pushing for the same policies to further their power, they will back each other up in Parliament unknowingly. The Radiance shapes Glantrian politics, but only because the most powerful wizards shape public policy around it, even if the public and lesser wizards know nothing about it. That wraps up the magic of Glantri. Magic dominates the nation's culture, laws, and even economy, so much that it impacts the lives of the Glantrians that can't cast a single spell. Instead of magic being hidden away in libraries and laboratories, in Glantri it's hawked on the street corners like an import watch. Next week we're headed west to one of the biggest sources of bad guys in Mystara, the Hagiarchy of Hool. Time to check in on the Master and see how he's doing. But until next time, remember, try to understand that I'm a magic man.